The odds of me starting the podcast at the same time as I get a newsletter from Spreaker about podcasting tips. What's good, y'all? It's BT back doing yet another podcast. Decided to do things a little different today. I've been contemplating on how to do this, and also, I'm not gonna lie, I looked at some of the sports stories this week, and I really didn't have anything that was like, ooh, this is something that I would love to talk about. It's something that I think my listeners would really enjoy listening to. So instead, I'm gonna do things a little different, but it's gonna be the way I want to do it because it's my podcast, and I do what I want, as I always tell y'all. So y'all know what time it is. I'm going to still have a few stories about sports. I'll kind of chip at what I can that I've been keeping up with, sporting related. Get my usual picks for the week, and I'll be adding some music into the realm, and also a little bit of gaming tidbits that coincidentally came out today. So I thought it would be only fair to just share that with my listeners, because I know you all. I do have a few folks who do follow the podcast that are into that have their love or their passion for gaming. So I wanted to go ahead and do that. Sorry for the random sounds or the random noises. I'm sitting here looking at the little beats in the bars, and it's probably like, well, Brian, what did you just do? And I will honestly say a lot. So first story, as I mentioned in my Snapchat, and I'm a man of my word, I wasn't going to bring Kaepernick up until he played. So he played this past weekend, and from the looks of things, he is rusty. And you gotta give the benefit of the doubt as far as him being rusty, because, I mean, let's face it, he really hasn't played since last season. He played a few sets during preseason, but as far as the regular season, he hasn't been on the field and really gotten, like, I want to say gotten his legs under his feet or gotten his sea legs and none of that. It's just he really hasn't played. So their opponent was the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo went rampant on them. LaShawn McCoy, big props to him. I'll go over that in a minute. But LaShawn McCoy showed up and showed out. He had 3 touchdowns with literally 140 yards, so that wasn't too bad. But Kaepernick's stat line, he was 13 of 29, had 187 yards and 1 touchdown. The nicest way to say it, and this is on the personal side of it, the league and sports and them itself has that look of that weight of him failing, and you've got to understand it was only one game. Like, we can't sit here and diminish or tear somebody down that literally just played for the first time in God knows how long. So I wasn't looking at the game thinking, oh, he was gonna come out and show up and tear it up. I thought he was gonna come out and play okay, but not play with like a wow factor to it, because he pretty much was gonna be the target of the game as far as trying to hit him and trying to show what he could do. So that's my spiel on that. I'll go ahead and do my brief randomness about fantasy football. I was lucky I caught my fantasy setup in time, because it turns out that the latest picks or the latest setups for this week, I had a wide receiver for Chicago starting, and they're playing tonight. So if I had kept him on my team, it probably wouldn't have been the best idea. But sometimes you catch things just in times, and luckily I caught that one. So right now, trade is in principle. It's just a matter of if the GM sets it up. But I have let Des Bryant go. Haven't really been getting much production out of him. And then, too, it's a bye week, so it's not like him being on my team is really the best of deals. Carolina and Dallas both have their bye weeks this year, so I'm sorry, they have their bye weeks this week. I'm gonna get it right, y'all know me. But that went the way it did, so I'm still trying to get my second wind, and my second win, because I've literally just not had the most exhilarating season. So we'll jump right into my struggle and my battle. I did not do this last week, so it was kind of like an improv when I did it and looked at the schedule. And I've learned, I guess it's a matter of catching on to doing this. If I don't have the records of the teams that are playing, I just pick. And usually when I do that, it doesn't end up being the best picks chosen for those games. So last week's picks, I went 6-8, and I'm overall 38-37. So that kind of brought me up from this slump that I had, because it was kind of a rough place, but it's still getting there. Because that week I went 4-11 really played this role on my fantasy setup. So, I mean, not my fantasy setup, but my pick'em, as I call them, my weekly pick'em process that I'm doing. So now this week should have a good lineup of games to kind of hit you all with. Now I'm going to let you know now, and I think this is because it's my first week doing it, and I'm going to test it out. If it works, I'll stick with it, but I'll tell you about it when we get to it. But anyway, with the NFL side of things, as far as picks goes, I'm sorry, I didn't add these stories, but I'll go ahead and add them before I continue with the picks for this week. Tonight, if you are a WNBA fan, Game 5 of the championship game will be played on ESPN between the Los Angeles Sparks and the Minnesota Lynx. It's a big matchup because you'll have Candace Parker and Maya Moore going at it, so always a joy and always a blast to watch them play. Simone Augusta has been playing pretty good, and it's also interesting because it'll be the first time since the Lakers did it where a team could repeat winning the championship. It's Minnesota's the win, but it's not solid lock per se because Candace Parker can play, and they do have Nneka Ogwumike with the Sparks as well. Also, if you are keeping up with it, if you may or may not be the biggest fan of it, but we do have the infamous World Series preparations in store. LA and Chicago are playing Game 5. Whoever wins goes on to the World Series. The Cleveland Indians have already gone. Didn't want to leave out any baseball. I know I've kind of been stagnant with that. Been quiet about basketball solely because it's preseason. I really don't give preseason a lot of attention because you're kind of trying to figure out who's who and what's where and how to put people in place. So enough of all that. Just wanted to at least get that in the mix. Now my picks. Tonight's game, Chicago and Green Bay. Going Green Bay. Giants. And then starting on the Sunday games, looks like I'm assuming this is an international game. This is the Giants and Rams. I'm going to pick the Giants because for whatever reason, teams with bad records that go over to international countries play, but they don't play. I don't know how to describe that. Washington and Detroit, odd picks, but I'm going to pick Detroit upset. Minnesota and Philadelphia. Minnesota's still playing pretty good, even though it's in Philadelphia. Cleveland and Cincinnati. If I pick Cleveland and they win, if I pick Cincinnati and Cleveland actually wins, I would be very surprised. But I'm going Cincinnati. Colts and Titans. Hopefully they can come back and awaken. The Titans. Baltimore and the Jets. Shoe in Baltimore. The Jets have an interesting story because they have a quarterback carousel going on. I forgot to add that as well. It looks like it's been confirmed that Fitzpatrick is getting to sit and Geno Smith will be getting to start. So that should be very compelling story to keep up with since we haven't heard about Geno Smith since last year. And Fitzpatrick was the guy because they gave him the contract. So look forward to how that all plays out. Oakland and Jacksonville. Didn't know Jacksonville won 2 games. Random fact. But Oakland has been playing pretty good this year, so I'm going to go Oakland. New Orleans and Kansas City for fantasy purposes and also for divisional purposes. I'm going to pick Kansas City. Buffalo and Miami. Oddly enough, I'm going to pick Buffalo. They've been playing at a pretty steady pace. San Diego, Atlanta. The Panda. Got it. I got wins in Atlanta, so I'm going to go Atlanta with that. Tampa Bay and San Francisco. surprisingly enough, I'm going to pick San Francisco. I think it's going to be a good matchup because you got Winston and Kaepernick going against each other. I mean, they won't be playing on the field at the same time, obviously, but if I had to truly take a choice or an option between the two, I would say San Francisco, and it's in San Francisco too. Some may not see it as such, but I'm claiming it as game of the week. New England and Pittsburgh. I am going to go. This is a hard one. I'm taking the upset, but I'm also taking the. You know what? I just realized. Never mind. My sister's gonna have to be mad, but it's also the way the reality of the game is. I'm taking New England, and the only reason I'm really pushing for New England more for this game is Big Ben's gonna be out this week. He's supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm taking New England for that game. Seattle and Arizona. It's in Arizona. Seattle's been playing pretty good. You know, they had one stumbling point, but all in all, they've bounced back from that game. But I'll pick Seattle. And strangest game out of all of them, I would have to say Monday night game, Houston and Denver. If I really had to take a choice and really go for a team right offhand, the obvious would be Denver. But I've seen Houston just ruin me on a lot of games. So this is the week that I'm going to go ahead and stick to my guns and actually do the unthinkable by picking Houston. So if Houston lets me down this week, then it'll be confirmed. I'm going to pick against them every time they play, just because I can. So I'm going to get all those plugged and pushed and promoted and shared. And that'll be in the blog for this week. And I have to get last week's blog up because I've literally been just ripping and running. So those are all my sports topics. Like I said, I'm doing it a little different, and I'm going to kind of be a little improv. I'm going to get feedback, and I want input from people on this. If you are following the podcast either through iTunes or through Spreaker, or if you follow my like page on Facebook or you're on Instagram, if you go back and you look at the image, I'm kind of going to be using the images as a foundation of what I'm going to be talking about. So the first topic I'm going to go ahead and get gaming out of the way because I think the album itself might take up the most time, which is not a bad thing. But the Nintendo made their announcement today about their newest console coming out called the Nintendo Switch. It was initially looked at as the NX or something of that sort, but it is known as the Nintendo Switch. They did a bit of a brief overview or a talking of how it works, how it's played, how games are implemented, how you pretty much can play on the fly. It has a docking station where the docking station stays connected to your, you have the docking station connected to your TV. Sorry, I left for a second. But it's connected to your TV. You just take the screen, plug it into there, play your games through your television, and it has a controller for that. The initial controller that's made to connect to the screen that you hook into the dock is set up so that it has both sides of it they slide off, and they kind of double where you can keep it on the controller and it's a full controller to play in general, or they can be slid off and it turns into a retro controller where it has the joystick on the left and the buttons on the right. So you would look at it and say, okay, it doesn't look like it can do it, but it's actually a logical idea solely because the buttons are opposite of each other. One of the streamers I watched, the Great GQ, low-key plug, he mentioned that in his stream, and it's actually a valid point. Console fanboys are going to battle because they're going to look at it as, well, it's not the PlayStation 4, it's not the PlayStation 4K, it's not the Scorpio for the Xbox One, but it's what Nintendo has, number one, and number two, it actually can work depending on how games are developed or created for it. So I'm looking forward to everything that's in store with that system itself. Me being not a personal owner of like many Nintendo consoles, because the last system I got from them was the Wii U. I'm sorry, not the Wii U, the original Wii. I didn't buy the Wii U. I was in between about buying it, and then I realized if I bought it, I wouldn't play that many games on it because I'm usually playing most of the time on my Xbox One. And don't have this topic is not listed on my screen, but on my in my information that I shared with everyone. But I did purchase Gears of War 4. How do I like it? I don't know, because it's still in the wrapper, because I've challenged myself to do better, to be better, and to go for better. And part of doing that is that I can't play it until the proper time. So when you do things and you make choices, you got to live with them. So I'm going to stick to my guns and doing what I'm doing. And I think it'll all be worth it in the long haul. So I'm going to I can't really give you much of a review on it. I played FIFA 17 a little bit, been enjoying it. NBA 2K has consumed my time. I need to get into a little bit more of my career. Haven't played it enough. My guy's been able to score, but he hasn't been able to score, if that makes any kind of sense. So I got that going on. Right now I kind of got I guess I can call it my Fab 5 of games. And this is just, like I said, gaming, improv, random, different, but my personal output. But I have literally gotten my 5 games that have kind of been my go-to is Halo 5, Grand Theft Auto 5, NBA 2K17, FIFA 17, and once I crack it open, Gears of War 4. I will be rotating through those games, and I still have Rocket League. And my next game that I'm probably going to get, which won't be for probably almost another year. I mean, I probably will get games in between that time. It all depends, but I've been keeping a close eye. And they made it. It was kind of like today was like a release date, because it was like promotionals across the board. Because they happened to mention information about Nintendo, and in the midst of me looking at that, I happened to see, oh, well, it looks like Rockstar has their announcement coming up. So Rockstar has announced that they're doing a Red Dead Redemption 2. So I've seen it around where it's been mentioned as Red Dead 2. Some have called it Red Dead Redemption 2, but overall, Red Dead is making a comeback. It'll be released in the fall of next year. They showed their trailer. Now, before I get into that, I'm sorry. The Nintendo NX or the Nintendo Switch, they did give like a pretty good little promo to give you an overview of the features that are going to be included and how it works, and how you can how it kind of has like a little stand and you can set it up and play on the go. So things of that sort for the Nintendo NX or the Nintendo Switch are going to be very, huge. Red Dead Redemption gets the award for being the biggest tease in console/gaming history. And here's why. They released a video, which was by far an exceptional video. But as the video played, all I thought in my head was, this can't be everything that they gonna show you. And I mean, it was a very, I won't say generic. It was a very condensed video, because it really didn't show you much of what to expect in the game. They just gave you kind of the visuals. If you go back a while back and the NBA doesn't do it as often anymore, but at one time they would show during the finals a preview trailer for NBA 2K. They still do it, year after year, but there was one time when they did it and you saw the trailer and you were like, okay, you didn't show us anything. All you showed was somebody walking out and saying, get ready. And it's like, what? Wait, there's no gameplay, there's no footage, there's no story, nothing. You just dangle and just leave us out there hoping we'll figure it out. But Rockstar did the same thing. And if you keep IGN mentioned this, and yes, I'm doing social plugs because I can and because it's true. Because it's things that I thought of but really didn't look at. If you really go back and look at it, Grand Theft Auto 5 was the last game that they truly put time into addressing or creating or whatever you want to call it. So Grand Theft Auto 5 has taken up 3 years of the gaming community with Rockstar. So for having Rockstar say, hey, and something that they brought up, and that if you're a Rockstar fan, you always can pick up on it. Their logo factors into how they handle what's coming. I'm gonna check, and this isn't a fact check, but this is just a kind of a knowledge thing that I know they're good at doing. Usually on their social page, and it's probably going to be the case now, Yeah, okay. So on Rockstar Games on Twitter, their logo has been yellow for a while. Well, today it changed, and now it's black with the red R and the outline star. So that's letting you know we're going into a new level or to a new direction, and the new direction is involving the Red Dead Redemption. So they're going to be working on that. The release, like I said, the release date for it, or release time frame for it, is fall of next year. So when they say fall of next year, that means more than likely at E3 we're going to see it possibly be told a little bit more, because I know a while back, and I want to say this was in 2014 when they did Halo. Oh, and I'm sorry, rewinding. Another game that I'm going to start getting back to playing because I love playing it and I need to really give it more time because I just get frustrated when I play, is Halo Master Chief Collection, because it's a pretty awesome game because you took all of the old Halos and put it in one game. So I mean, come on, who doesn't love that? But anywho, the Red Dead Redemption, when they going back to Halo, the reason I brought up Halo, back when Halo came out, when the Master Chief game came out, they gave you like a teaser about it and giving you information saying, hey, it's coming, and then a few months later it was eventually released. Same will apply with Rockstar's game for Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption will certainly have a true return of gamers, because Red Dead Redemption is a very underrated community. That's the simplest yet nicest way for me to say it. And those who really know or understand gaming can tell you how serious that is. So I just want to at least get that part out there and address that before going any further. But those are my two stories I had on gaming. If you have more ideas or suggestions on gaming topics you would like me to address, I don't mind doing them. Just present them, give me some information, I'll read on it, add my 2 cents to it. Hey, you might even be a person I can get on the show. So that's all down the line and all plans that I want to have happen as time progresses with this podcast. But anyway, I've done all those topics, enjoyed all of that. Now I guess you could say the meat and potatoes of my podcast that I really want to talk about. A seat at the throne, or a seat at the table. I just ruined that altogether. A seat at the table. So Solange brought out an album called A Seat at the Table. And when I say I don't listen to a lot of albums from start to finish, this album truly has gotten my attention where I will listen to the full album and actually enjoy it. She took music to a point that a lot of people forgot. And that point, believe it or not, is the mere fact that, hey, there was a time when you would put interludes and have stories being told in an album. And that what makes it big for me. So before I continue, I'm gonna tell you, I'm doing somewhat of a verbal version of what my friend did on her blog. I call it Loop That Bitch Sasha Thump. That's my sis. She challenges me on music in ways that I have to learn not to be challenged, because I always remember, or I have to be reminded, you only know as much as you're capable of allowing yourself to learn, and I'm always learning when it comes to music, and she's a big part of that, and my friend Gerald Tukes as well. And a lot of my friends who I follow on Facebook, Twitter, things of that sort, give me like that extra push when it comes to music and learning different artists and knowing who's out there. So Solange album, just, a lot of people, Weary caught a lot of attention. Don't Touch My Hair. Everybody who I talked to, and I think because I heard it on one of the loop mixes that my friend did for the loop, or that was helped set up to do the loop, Cranes in the Sky. Oh my gosh. If you have not had a chance, even if you don't have the album, just listen to Cranes in the Sky on the Solange album, A Seat at the Table. It's one of those, it's one of the few moments that you have to take time and listen to words and not get pulled by the infamous, okay, I'm just going to listen for the beat. No. Put the beat away, listen to the words, and you will be amazed and engulfed by what you hear, because she puts it all out there, and that's what it was all about. Returning to the interludes, and one of the tracks on the album coincidentally is called Fubu, so that was a nice little add in there too. But the interludes are done by Master P, and if you really go back and look at Master P's career, Percy Miller was doing his thing back in the 90s. He brought up something that no one expected to get to where it got to in that time frame. Artists now can try to make all the groups collab and join up and own up and whatever, but that was the true make them say like that setup. Mystical, Silk the Shocker, like all of those artists on Cash Money and No Limit, on No Limit Records, were just they did it. And he just tells you different stories about how he got started with music and how it, turned out being one of the best things for him, at the time when it occurred. So I just wanted to at least give my input about that album. Like, as far as listening, it's an album that you actually can, and this is a hard thing to say as a music snob. Like, anybody who knows me personally knows I am the biggest music snob when it comes to listening to music. I have my way of how I listen to music. And if it doesn't sound right to what I want to hear, I will be in my feelings about it. Even so bad where if I go out partying and the DJ is DJing, if they play music and it's not in the order that I would like to listen to it, I turn into like this little kid that like has an attitude and throws a temper tantrum. Now, granted, I don't do it for real, but in my mind, that's how I feel about certain music or certain albums or songs or whatever. But the album itself is one of the few albums that I can say I can listen to from start to finish and actually enjoy listening to. And that's a tall order for anybody, especially for me. So I truly value the album as a whole. If you have not listened to it, if you need to get a spin of it or check it out, let me know. I think it's, like I said, it's music. That's the best way to describe it. A lot of people, kind of giving their push and pull against it because they're like, oh, it ain't Beyonce, and I'm like, it's not supposed to be. They do it two different ways. Hang on, y'all. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I truly just value what she did with this album, and that's why I think I'm so adamant about talking about how good of an album it is, because I haven't had an album get my attention like that in years, and that says a lot. So I wanted to at least give y'all some input on that and let you know, if you have a chance, a seat at the table, Solange album, go to your stores, pick it up, go on iTunes, stream it, download it, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever you do, get it, listen, hear it, talk about it. It's telling some stories, and it's hitting some songs. It hits that song soul that you're not used to. That's my assessment about it, that I think I take away from it every time I think about listening to it. So I wanted to share that, and capping it off here, getting to that near end point. I've enjoyed what I'm doing. I'm glad everyone's listening. Thanks for tuning in. If you have not had a chance to, if you would like to, go back and listen to some of my older podcasts. I'm talking about, I've done a vast majority of the talk has been about sports, but I'm diversing, and I done a little bit of the gaming a little bit before. I had, one of my earlier ones I did with a friend of mine. Hopefully me and him can link back up and do another one, depending on how schedules come together. So I've just, I'm doing what, granted, I'm not celebrity status. I'm not Skip A. I'm not Skip Bayless. I'm not Stephen A. I'm not Shannon Sharp. Yeah, I went there. I ain't even gonna name the other person because he's boxing, and I'm being that petty because I can. But it's a flair and it's a style. That's all, all the sports guys, but the main sports guys that you hear a lot of people do during the daytime talk. Dan Patrick, they do it. That's their livelihood. That's their livelihood. That's their bread and butter. That's how they eat, live, and sleep. So for them, it's a work. For me, it's the same. I just come at it from a different angle because I'm just an everyday John. I'm just an everyday John Doe, picking up and learning about sports and talking about it. But hopefully, the gaming scene and the music scene, I'll find more stories to blend in. What I'm thinking of planning on doing soon is listening to Eric Benet's album. I'm not sure if it's new or if it's an older album, but I want to give it a spin and see what it's all about. But I am glad you all have tuned in. I'm going to end it here. If you are not already following me on Twitter or on Instagram, I am under Brate Podcast. If you want to know about information related to the podcast, I do post it on Brate82. And I am pushing now finally to get back to posting these on YouTube. I may soon be doing live vlogs related to sports and to my podcast. I can't say yet. But I'm going to be working to use social media to its full potential. So I hope you all have a good day. Everyone be blessed, stay positive, and until next time, BT signing out. Peace.